The sun puts more energy on the Earth in 1 hour than we use in 1 year. And yet, last year, less than 0.5% of the total energy we used came from solar panels. This surprising statistic was put out by the U.S. Department of Energy last year. Why should it matter where our energy comes from? I mean, as long as the lights turn on and the TV works, does it really matter where we get our power from? I'd like to make the case today that yes, it does in fact matter, and the future of our planet could depend on it. We need to switch over to using solar-powered energy from fossil fuels. My name is Nick Barucki, and I'm an advocate for clean energy. I've done a lot of research into what renewable energy source I will use in my own life and my home. Today, I would like to talk about 3 main points, which are how the world demand for energy is increasing paired with our reliance on fossil fuels is harming our planet, how we need to switch to solar-powered energy, which is more clean, reliable, and efficient, and the benefits that come along with this proposed solution of switching to solar-powered energy. First, let's talk about why we need solar energy. A group of technical experts on the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change stated that by the year 2050, we will more than double our usage of energy. And by the year 2100, the world energy consumption rate will more than triple. This information was collected by Jeff Sayo, Nate Lewis, and George Crabtree. Corresponding, the CO2 rates will rise as we use more energy. The emission rates will rise to an alarming number. The additional CO2 emissions will disrupt the CO2 equilibrium that is in our atmosphere and will compromise our atmosphere over so many years of eating away at it. Additionally, the population of the Earth and the Earth's developmental rate has been exponentially increasing each year. According to the article, Trading Off Global Fuel Supply, U.S. CO2 Emissions and Sustainable Development, written by a group of Australian economists. In their research, supported by the Australian Research Committee, they discussed how most of our energy comes from fossil fuels, which is actually 82% is the number they gave. 82% of our energy comes from fossil fuels. This creates a business as usual line, which represents that the percentage of fossil fuel use is not going to change as time goes on, shown by this tangent line here, compared to our supply of fossil fuels and our reserves, shown here. They use this model to demonstrate via the fossil fuel depletion trajectory here that without access to an additional energy source, increasingly severe constraints are predicted even for the large reserves of energy such as these. To solve this problem, we need to look to solar energy as our source of clean, renewable, and sustainable energy. In the Journal of Urban Technology, author Tim Beatley, an internationally recognized sustainable city researcher, describes and proposes the idea of a solar city. This solar city, he says, has many economical and environmental benefits. The main environmental benefit being that it is C neutral, carbon neutral that is, which means the net zero emission of carbon, there's a net zero emission of carbon. The little carbon that is put off from the factories when they're making the solar panels is offset by the trees filtering the carbon and putting it out as clean oxygen. He says that these cities, which are starting to use solar power as their source of energy, it is renewable because they will have energy as long as the sun shines, which scientists estimate to be another 6.5 billion years. And it is sustainable because it meets their level of demand. So even on a cloudy day, the UV rays are still going to shine through and be collected in these solar panels. I mentioned the article Trading Off Global Fuel, CO2 Emissions, and Sustainable Development. And in this article, they use this graph with the business as usual model. And this is the gap from what we want and how many fossil fuels we can provide in the year 2090. Well, the solution to this problem is slowly integrating solar-powered energy into the grid. By doing this, we can stretch out our fossil fuel usage, use it even longer, and use it in addition to solar energy. And eventually, as solar energy becomes more and more advanced, and there's a greater demand for better solar panels that are more efficient, can last longer, and are cheaper, we will stop using fossil fuels altogether. The marginal benefits of using solar panels will far outweigh the marginal costs, and fossil fuels will become a thing of the past, literally. The next point I'd like to talk about is how, contrary to popular belief, solar panels are now becoming very cheap and economical, according to Robert Frick, the author of the article Solar Power Finally Pays Off. Robert Frick is a past CFO of the Bank of America, and he is a financial expert who owns his own finance company. He describes how over the lifespan of a solar panel, it will actually pay for itself. Solar panels last around 20 to 25 years with very little maintenance. That's about their lifespan. And after just 10 years, they pay themselves off. So you will get 10 to 15 years out of one solar panel. Free energy, that is. And actually, you can receive a check from electric companies that are willing to pay you for your unused energy to put back into the grid. Additionally, Chris Lehman, the owner of JK Mechanical, who is a big supplier here in the United States of solar panels, says that their panels have decreased in price by 20% over the last 3 years. He says that 2 years ago, in 2014, it was recognized as the most efficient source of renewable energy. And he says that in 1 year alone, if their solar panels keep selling the way that they're selling, they can negate 45 metric tons of harmful carbon emissions that are currently in our atmosphere. We need to recognize and address this problem that we have of harmful greenhouse gases in our Earth that are slowly destroying it. We can do this by utilizing solar power, which we are already starting to do. In urban areas, it works well on houses, even in shaded areas, and more people are starting to switch over, which will reverse the negative effects that years of fossil fuels has done to the Earth. And it even has some benefits. So it's not just an investment in your future, but an investment in the future generations of people to come. Today I talked about 3 main points, which were how the increase in demand paired with our obsession with using fossil fuels and our dependency, that is, of using fossil fuels, is harming the Earth, how we need to switch to solar power as a source of renewable and sustainable energy, and the benefits that come along with switching to solar power. I would like to conclude by saying that solar panels are not just the unaffordable fad of 5 years ago. They've become a very inexpensive source of energy that is going to be the future of our energy market. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Woo! Yay! Can you see this in the reflection of the TV?
No.
I was worried.